So glad to see all of your smiling faces. And I say happy Mother's Day as well. To those of you mothers, blessings on you. To those of you who have mothers, blessings on you too. In the Bible, there's a lot of stories about women. Old Testament, New Testament, some are named, some are not named. Today, we're going to look at one of those women from the New Testament, from the book of Acts. She only gets about this many verses in the Bible, but she is named, and we're going to look at Tabitha today. The Greek translation of the word Tabitha is Dorcas, same person. But I'm going to read to you Acts 9, 36 to 42. Not a lot of verses, but what a powerful story. Acts 9:36. Now there was in Joppa a certain disciple named Tabitha, which by interpretation is called Dorcas. This woman was full of good works and alms deeds which she did. And it came to pass in those days that she was sick, and she died. And when they had washed her, they laid her in an upper chamber. And inasmuch as Lydda was nigh to Joppa, then the disciples had heard that Peter was there. They sent unto him 2 men, desiring that he would not delay to come to them. And Peter arose and came with them, and when he was come, they brought him into that upper chamber. And all the widows stood by him weeping and showing him the coats and the garments which Dorcas made while she was with them. But Peter put them all forth, and he knelt down, prayed, and then he turned to the body and said, Tabitha, arise. And she opened her eyes. And when she saw it was Peter, she sat up. And Peter gave her his hand and lifted her up. And when he had called the saints and the widows, he presented her alive. And many believed, as you can imagine. Wow. We're going to concentrate on that verse 36 that says this. This woman was full of good works. Another translation says she was always doing good. Sometimes today, we are attuned to the truth of our salvation, which is found in Ephesians 2, 8 and 9. It says, by grace are you saved through faith, not of yourselves. It is a gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. And that is the truth. It is only by the finished work of the cross that we can be saved. But sometimes we forget to go on. One more verse beyond that, verse 10 says this, for we are God's handiwork, created in Christ to do good works, and, not done yet, which God has prepared in advance for us to do. The Bible has a lot to say about doing good. First and foremost, in Acts 10:38, it says, Jesus went about doing good. Matthew 5:16 says, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. One of our previous general superintendents of the Assemblies of God, he was in charge of all the Assemblies of God churches in the United States, was George Wood. And I heard him one time speaking and telling this story. He was sitting in his office in Springfield, got his mail, which I'm sure was a lot of mail, but one envelope caught his eye, and he looked at it, and he looked at it again. And he thought about it and looked at it again. And even when he had taken the letter out and dealt with that, he kept that envelope. And here is what was on that envelope. It was a typo that he saw. A typo. It said, Reverend George Wood, the Assemblies of Good. One little extra O that was in it. And he said, for a long time I thought on that because we need to be the Assemblies of God. We also need to be the Assemblies of Good. So let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Oh, there's nothing that I can do. I can't do anything. I'll just sit here in my seat. I can't do anything. I'm too shy. Tabitha's sewing was mentioned in the Bible. Tabitha's sewing was mentioned in the Bible. She used her gifts to impact those around her. Some of you might be old enough to remember a song we used to sing that's taken from Scripture, which is, they'll know we're Christians by our love, by our love. Yes, they'll know we are Christians by our love. Kind of a minor key at the end, and you sort of have to do a little bit of swaying to that song. But they'll know we're Christians by our love. How? Just because we say we love them? Or is it by what we are doing, by the works that we are doing? There is a saying that I love, and it's this: preach the gospel, use words if necessary. In our day, maybe in every era, I don't know, we love the words tremendous and greatest and superb, best. And many of us are on board to do something great for God. Count me in, I'm there. But maybe we pass by some of the countless opportunities to do something good every day. Mother Teresa is credited with saying, I might not get to do great things for God, but I'm going to do small things with great love. We all know the story of the alabaster box. And the interesting thing to me, when she came and broke that open, there were a lot of opinions in that room. One says they murmured against her. They had all these opinions. Well, she should have taken that and sold it and given that money to the poor. And obviously there were a lot of other opinions going on. But in Mark 14:8, here's what Jesus told to them with the opinions. He didn't really say it to her. He said it to the people with the opinions. She did what she could. He said it may even be preparation for my burial. She did what she could. And verse 9 is even better. Mark 14:9 says this: she did what she could, and because of this, wherever the gospel is preached throughout the world in 2026, this that she has done will be spoken of. She did what she could do. Tabitha's sewing was mentioned in the Bible. So many of us say, there's nothing that I can do. I have no talents. I can't do anything. Do small things with great love. To somebody else, it might not be small. Those widows were crying because Tabitha had given them something that she made. Maybe they're small to you, but they could be really, really big to someone else. Don't concentrate on, oh, if only I this, then I would do that for Jesus. If only I could do this as well as such and so, then I would be able to do this for Jesus. No. What can you do? There are three categories, three groups of people that we need to do good to. And one is just general, just a general. These are those who we want to do something good for. Maybe it's expected of us. Maybe we're responsible for someone. And many of us are pretty comfortable in that area. But maybe we can do a little better in that area. Maybe we can pay attention when our heart is just moved when we see someone or a situation. Let's pay attention to know that that could be God talking to us about that. We could maybe pay a little better attention to who the Bible sets forth as people that we need to do good to, and that is orphans and widows and those in jail and those who don't have enough food. Doing something to the least of these, my brethren, is like doing it unto him. How many of you can take a cup of water and give to someone? We all can do that. A cup of water in his name. How about that? But the second category, the first is just in general. The second category is a little bit harder, and it takes the knowledge that the love we share, or the deeds that we do, the good that we do, does not come from our love, but it comes from the heart of God through us. And that is, we need to do good to our enemies. In the Sermon on the Mount, again, Matthew 5, 44 to 47, it's plain, straight talk. Love your enemies. Love your enemies. Goes on to say, you know what? If you love those who love you back, where's the reward in that? Even the publicans do that. The tax collectors do that. The unsaved. Enemies can be a broad spectrum of people. Maybe you have someone that has treated you badly. Maybe you have someone who has done you wrong. Maybe it's an enemy of your comfort zone. I don't want to reach out to those people. I'm sure they need God's grace shown to them, but not going to be me. The unlovable can be your enemies in some ways. Proverbs 25, 21, and 22 says this: if your enemy's hungry, give him something to eat. If he's thirsty, give him something to drink. You will heap coals of fire on his head. And sometimes we stop there, but the last part of that verse says, and the Lord will reward you. So do something. Do something good to them. They'll know we're Christians by our love, by our love. Yes, they'll know we are Christians by our love. Is that they'll know we're Christians just by the love we have for other Christians? Or is it they'll know we're Christians by our love for the unlovely? For doing good to your enemy. Not a lot of Proverbs are re-quoted in the New Testament, but this one is. Romans 12:20. If your enemy's hungry, give him something to eat. If he's thirsty, do something. Don't just say, I'm going to pray for you. How about I lead you in the road to salvation? Do that, but first take care of the physical needs that they have. And verse 21, Romans 12:21 then says, don't be overcome with evil, but overcome evil with good. Maybe it is a horrible situation. There is evil in this world. Some things that we can't even comprehend in our mind that's so bad, it's so evil. Maybe you have been wronged by someone, and maybe you even think God wronged you. How can I reach out and do good to someone else with this big hurt in my heart? How can I do that with this pain? I was in Walmart some time ago and just taking my cart down the aisle, and a lady came toward me, and she had a cart overflowing with stuffed animals. I mean, they were falling on the floor. There were so many of them. Now, I am a thrifty person, and I do enjoy a good sale. So she was coming toward me. I said, "Oh, are the stuffed animals on sale?" "No," she said. "I'm taking these to the children's hospital." I said, "What a wonderful thing to do." She said, "Some years back, we had a little son that died of cancer." She said, "And for a long time, I was so mad at everybody, mad at God, mad at everyone, mad at myself, mad at everybody." She said, "But a few months into it," she said, I thought to myself, I know what it's like to sit in that hospital room next to a child that you would do anything for." She said, "And I remember the couple times when somebody would come through that door with just a little something for him. And it would cheer his heart up, and it would cheer my heart up as well." She said, "So I thought, you know what? I'm going to just take a couple things. I know my way around up there. I'm sure the nurses even still remember me." She said, "I did that. And you know what happened? The wall that I had built around my heart to not let any more pain come in, it just started to crack a little bit. Just a little bit of cracks." She said, "And a few months later, I thought, I'm going to do that again. I'm going to go take a few things again." She said, "And I did it repeatedly. And all of a sudden, on the anniversary of when he died, I took some stuff up there. And I did not feel so bereft. On his birthday, I took some stuff up there. On Christmas, I did." She said, "And now I love to do it because when I go there, it does my heart good. This wall that I had built up just crumbled because it blessed me as much as it blessed them." She said, "And now I look forward to the day that he died. I look forward to his birthday because I get to take all this stuff there." And by that time, both of us were standing in the Walmart aisle with tears streaming down our face, just crying because what an amazing thing, what an amazing gift that out of her hurt, she learned that to do good to someone else helped her. You need to take your situation, your hurt, and do good with it. The third category, first is just general. The second is do good to your enemies. And the third is do good to those who are of the household of faith. Galatians 6:10 says this, "As we have opportunity, let us do good to all men, but especially those who are of the household of faith." Look around you. How can we bless these people? Not just one time, but constantly and continually. Interesting that the verse previous to that, Galatians 6:9, says this, "Don't be weary in well-doing, Don't be weary. Keep doing it constantly, consistently. What can you do? Have I mentioned that Tabitha's sewing was recorded in the Bible? We were having a get-together of some international pastors one time, just a smaller get-together, and I asked one of the churches that we work with, could you make a couple desserts for this outing? Oh, sure, no problem. I went on Saturday to pick up the couple desserts that I asked for, and there had to have been 8, if there were any. And it was right on the tip of my tongue to say, I don't need 8. I didn't ask for 8. And I thought, you know what? These ladies have worked, and they put their love and whatever in there. I'm just going to take them. So I took them, and at the end of eating and the meeting, there were still, obviously, desserts left over. So I said to the ladies, would anyone like to take one of these home? And one lady said, well, we have, once a month, we celebrate the children's birthdays in Sunday school. I'd love to have a birthday cake for them. Take it. Somebody else said, oh, we have people coming over tonight, and because I wanted to be here, I did not make anything for later. I would love to take it. And little by little, all of those desserts became an ever-expanding blessing that I almost turned down. But those ladies did it out of love. They did what they could. What can you do to bless this household of faith, the children that we saw, the small groups that you're in? How can we bless these people? Back to the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 6, he talks a little bit about, incidentally, words in red. Jesus said these words. When you do things, you don't have to do it with fanfare. You don't have to do it with trumpets. In fact, if you want trumpets, and we get trumpets, that may be all the reward that you get. Sometimes we do good anonymously. What fun it is. We had to shut down the secret sister thing one time in a church that we had. If you don't know what a secret sister is, at the beginning of one year, the ladies exchanged names and they would anonymously give gifts, and then at the end of the year find out who it was. Well, these gifts got bigger and bigger, some of them, I should say, and the ones who still got the little ones were a little bit jealous, and otherwise they were giving anonymously, and finally we had to say, no more, no more. If you want to give, give. But what if that were the normal? What if on Sunday that was the normal? Someone came to give that. Sometimes we do it anonymously. Sometimes we do it quietly. Some of you remember the old-fashioned Pentecostal handshake. That was if God put someone on your heart that you thought maybe could use a blessing of a couple dollars. You folded the bill, and when you shook hands with them, the bill exchanged hands as well. Quietly, not with any fanfare. Some things are anonymous, some things are quiet, and some things are in full view of everyone, so that your Father may be glorified. We know we should do good works. We know we can do good works, so let's do good works. The little book of Titus 3:8, has stuff to say about this. And Titus 3:8 says, be careful to maintain good works. Another translation says, devote yourself to good works. And then in Titus 3:14, it says, our people must learn to maintain good works, or learn to devote yourself to doing what's good. And how do we learn? by doing. Hebrews 10:24 says this, let us provoke one another to love and good works. Now, provoke means to stir up a reaction. Let us provoke. Another version says, let's spur each other on to good works. In other words, I'm going to ask you, how are you doing today with good works? How are you doing this week with good works? What plans do you have for next week for good works? Accountability. I'm going to ask you, you're going to ask me. Spur each other on to good works. Don't leave it to chance. And then in Hebrews 10:25, a nicer way of putting it in all the instructions that he had were encourage each other. Let's encourage each other to do this. King James says, exhort each other to do this. You can do it. Have I mentioned that Tabitha's sewing was in the Bible? And not just her sewing. She sewed and she gave to those that needed it. She blessed those around her with her gifts. She gave to the widows, and I'm sure, never ever expecting, she got raised from the dead. That's pretty exciting on there. And I don't know that we may experience that, but when you give, it does your own soul good. When you do good works, it does your own soul good. Proverbs 11:17 says this, the merciful man does good to his own soul. Another version says, those who are kind benefit themselves. We're not doing it for that reason, but there's the overflow that it helps us when we reach out and do good to others, whether it's generally or to our enemies or to someone who is of the household of faith. It does our own soul good. So let's learn to do good works. Let's maintain good works, and let's spur each other on. Let's use accountability. And let's plan to do good every single day. And let's not be weary. Some of you have been doing good a very long time. Don't be weary in well-doing. And let's remember Tabitha's story, which on one side, in death, she got raised from the dead. That's her story of death. But I think her story of life, the phrase that says, this woman was full of good works. She was always doing good works. There was a church where a little boy came to church. He came from a very, very bad home life, but somebody picked him up every Sunday for Sunday school and for church, and he started to learn about Jesus. And during the course of his coming there, an older lady in the church made a connection with him. She decided, I'm gonna say hello to him every single Sunday. I am going to encourage him, encouraging words. And yeah, if I find some candy or a couple other little things, I'm going to give that to him too. And this went on for a while until they became really good friends. And one Sunday, the lady said she was brought to tears by something this little guy said, and it was this. He looked her right in the eyes and said, I know that you're not Jesus, but you sure look like him to me. I know you're not Jesus, but you sure look like him to me. And the lady, She didn't do anything great. She did small things for him with great love. I want all of us today to just kind of solidify in our heart. And if you want to stand, you can stand. I'm going to turn it back over to Pastor Rich, but as we stand, let's solidify in our heart. I want to be full of good works. I want that to be said of me. I want to be like Jesus, who went about doing good. This woman was full of good works. God bless us each one as we do that. Pastor Rich, thank you. I love you.
Well, let's stand together. Lord, thank you for the good works that, Lord, you have laid before us. And, Lord, may you give us eyes to see them and the courage to step into them so they may accumulate. And it is an amazing thing that we read about that woman who sowed and needed to be raised from the dead. And may our good works have that kind of impact in Jesus' name. Let's sing one more song together.